You know how draining it is when you're talking with someone in victim mode and you leave the conversation, you're like, what the heck, right? Maybe you replay it in your head. Maybe you think about what you could have said differently, and somehow you feel responsible for how it went. Are you relating? When all those things are going on, know that you're dealing with someone who lives in a victim pattern. It's not occasional, it's very consistent, where no matter what happens, the responsibility is never theirs. It's outside of them. And here's why this matters based in brain science. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that when people repeatedly focus on perceived wrongs, injustices, it increases stress, reinforces negative thinking patterns, and impacts overall well-being. There's also research out of the University of Michigan that shows that rumination, when you ruminate on something, like going over the same story over and over and over, it strengthens emotional reactivity and makes it even harder to move forward. So what you're experiencing in these conversations is not just frustrating, it's a never-ending loop. And if you're not aware of it, you get pulled right back into it and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. You start fixing, explaining, trying to help them see it in a different way, a different perspective. And before you know it, you're more invested in their situation than they are, right? So let's shift this. This sucks. You do not want to be doing this, because the goal isn't to change them. You can't, right? The goal is to change how you participate in the conversation. That's the game. First, stop trying to create awareness for them. This is where most of us go. You hear the story and think, well, if they could just see this differently. So you explain, you reframe, you offer another perspective. And what happens is they push back. They justify it, they repeat the story again and dig even deeper down, because from their perspective, you're not understanding them. You're not getting them. So instead of trying to create awareness, you want to create space. So here's a couple things you might want to say when you're in that story with the victimized person, that victim pattern. You might say, I can hear how frustrating that's been. That sounds like that really impacted you. Just that. You're validating their experience and not saying it's true, right? You're not fixing. You're not correcting. You're allowing the intensity to no longer be your responsibility. And when that intensity settles, the conversation has real room to shift, if it's going to. Okay, another option. Pay attention to where you start over functioning. This one's really subtle, and it's where a lot of your energy gets sucked out of you. Notice when you start thinking about it after the conversation, trying to figure out how to help them, feeling responsible for their next step. That's over functioning, and there's a dynamic here at play for you and your pattern. When you do more, they do less. Let me say that again. When you do more, they do less. So instead of stepping in, step back into your being, your groundedness, your own role. You can be present without carrying it. You can care without solving it for them. That is really high emotional intelligence. Okay, third, move the conversation forward without force. This is without force. So instead of staying in what happened, shift toward what's next, if that's something that moves you to do. So ask, what do you want to do with this? What do you want to do with this? What would moving forward look like for you? It's subtle, but it works. You're not debating the past. You're introducing choice as someone with high emotional intelligence. And here's the key. You're not forcing accountability. You're making it available. Sometimes they'll take it, sometimes they won't. And that's not yours to manage. That's up to them to either receive or not. Okay, so here's the bottom line. When someone consistently shows up from a victim pattern, it can suck you into a role that was never yours. being the fixer, explainer, emotional support system. And over time, that gets really freaking old and very heavy and exhausting, right? But when you understand what's happening, something shifts within you. You stop reacting, you start responding, you stay grounded, you stay clear, you stay out of the never-ending drama loop. And that changes everything, not because they changed, because you changed. And if this resonates, you'll start noticing it everywhere. And more importantly, you'll know exactly what to do in the moment. I'm always cheering you on. You got this.